Welcome back, everybody, to Feeney 76 Tech Talk. This is going to be an amazing conversation because we're going to discuss something called IT Audit. I'm Hosey, and I'm here with my friend.
Lubins.
So, Lubens, the very first thing I got to ask you is, what is an IT audit?
Great question. An IT audit is a specialty within the audit function. So, an IT audit evaluates the controls to protect information technology and making sure that the assets are protected with integrity and are aligned with the organizational goals and objectives of the company. So we just make sure that if folks are following the policies and procedures to protect those assets, that they recognize that if they're going against or complying with regulatory requirements, both internally and externally. So it does require a specific specialty in understanding information technology.
So, I'm sitting there going, okay, assets. Are we talking about protecting money, Lubens? Are we talking about protecting computers? Are we talking about protecting a network? What does that audit, when you say assets, what are we protecting and why is that so important?
Great question, Jose. I think the assets, when refer to assets, it's really the IT assets, servers, databases, network devices. Those assets are what we're assessing to make sure that it's protected and it's configured appropriately because it's typically a gateway into the corporate data. And we want to protect the
Um,
information within the organization. So we just double check to make sure that everyone is following the policies and procedures to make sure that they're protecting the data and the also the IT assets.
so let's talk about the certification. Now that we
Mm.
understand that we're protecting the company's data, the network resources inside of this organization, what certifications do you have to be in this space?
There's one particular certification that's offered by Osaka. It's globally known. It's one of the information systems auditor certification. It's called Certified Information Systems Auditor, the CISA. We call it CISA. It's the standard, is world-renowned certification that most individuals within the IT audit space typically have to kind of demonstrate that they understand the technology, they understand the risk associated with the technology, and they also can evaluate the risk as well within those information technology assets.
So now that we understand what that certification is, how has this impacted your career trajectory and opportunities?
Oh, it's opened many doors for me. It actually
Really?
allows me to kind of be that subject matter expert when it comes to IT auditing. Because there is a shortage of talent within the IT audit space. There's not enough qualified and certified individuals that really understand the technology and are able to evaluate the risk associated with the technology. So it's allowed me to advance in my career. It's allowed me to be that subject matter expert within this particular space.
Well, pretend I'm just reentering the workforce, or I'm in high school and I'm watching this. Help me to get from where I am now to that CISA certification. What do I have to do? Do I have to have years of experience? Is it just a matter of studying the material in a book, taking the exam? Help me to get there, please.
The first recommendation I would make, there is a certificate that's called IT Audit Fundamentals that Osaka provides. So I would
Okay.
definitely suggest that particular certificate because it doesn't require extensive work experience. And it doesn't require an advanced degree. So I would recommend to do the certificate. It provides all the foundational knowledge that you need to know as an IT auditor. And once you've gotten that certificate, then you can start to focus on the CISA or the CISA certification to kind of advance your career. And the certification does require a degree, and it also does require some years of experience.
So how would they get those years of experience? Because if you're reentering the workforce, somebody may say, well, we can't give you an opportunity because guess what? You don't have the experience. So it's a catch-22. How do they get the experience to get to that CISA exam if they don't have any experience? Help me to get there, please.
I think it would definitely have to be starting at an entry level position as
Okay.
maybe an IT audit analyst with combined with that IT audit fundamental certificate that we just talked about. I think having those two things or having that certificate and go ahead and applying in an entry level position will start to kind of be a stepping stone for you to get within the CISA certification and start to prep yourself for that particular one.
So it sounds like this could take some time to get to that certification. So then
Yes.
let's talk about the challenges, because thus far we've talked about, okay, here are opportunities, there's a demand for these skill sets, there are even opportunities for you to become a subject matter expert. What are some of the downsides of getting this certification, or are there any downsides that one would have in obtaining this certification?
I wouldn't say it's a downside. I think you have to keep up with the technology. That's kind of one of the requirements to keep the certification. It
Okay.
forces you to kind of make sure that you're understanding the emerging technologies such as cloud or generative AI. These are technology that the IT auditor has to make sure that they understand, specifically understanding the risk associated with it. And so it kind of forces you to kind of be abreast in terms of emerging technologies and what are some of the risks associated with these emerging technologies.
So let's talk about your an everyday experience for you. Walk us through what you do on a daily basis with this certification. What does Lubin's world look like on a daily basis?
On a daily basis, the way I use the certification is just to kind of demonstrate that I understand the technology as I assess risk, working with the auditee. The auditee is the
Okay.
person that I'm auditing and kind of showing them that I understand not only the technology and the work that they're doing, but also what is the risk associated in terms of what they're doing, and also
Okay.
making sure that they're complying with all of the regulatory requirements that may be set by the government and also the policies and procedures set by the organization. And so those are kind of the things that I'm always assessing, working with different stakeholders to make sure that compliance is in place.
I heard you mention that you have to stay abreast of changing technology. You have to stay abreast of how that technology is impacting the business. So, can you walk us through any personal anecdotes or stories you've had in some of the challenges of trying to maintain up-to-date knowledge on all of the technologies as well as doing this IT audit?
One of the technology that I'm trying to stay in front of is called quantum computing, which is really the processing power of computers and being able to analyze big data. But also at the same time, I'm also doing cloud computing as well. So there's always just new technology hitting you at different angles, and you have to be able to keep up and keep pace with these technologies and how the organization is planning or is currently using that technology. So right now, I'm conducting assessments over cloud computing, understanding the risk landscape there. But at the same time, I'm also looking into, okay, what are the impacts of quantum computing? Right. And so, what are the impacts to the organization? What risk can quantum computing pose in terms of data protection and data encryption? So, I just kind of have to make sure that I'm abreast on all the new technology and the risk associated with those emerging technology.
What I just heard, Lubens, was you're always at the forefront of whatever that tip of the spear of change is. So let's talk about being the only person in the room who may or may not look like you. Sometimes we have something called imposter syndrome, meaning we don't think we're good enough, we don't think we're smart enough, we don't think we're capable enough. How have you been able to overcome all of that and still maintain your presence and professionalism to stay abreast of this changing technology?
A great question, Jose, and I struggle with it. Sometimes I
Really?
feel, yes, I definitely struggle with it, and one of the ways I'm able to overcome it is just to make sure I'm the smartest person in the room. So I definitely make sure that I do my homework. I understand what I'm assessing or I'm reviewing, and being able to assess the risk. So I'm always studying. I'm always reading up on the new technology, looking at different angles, how
Okay.
the organization is using technology, so that I make sure that I cover every angle, every base of that piece of technology. Because sometimes I do feel the imposter syndrome. And the only way for me to kind of break out of that, I want to say spell, is just to make sure that I do my research and I'm very comfortable and confident in terms of the technology or specific area that I'm speaking on or that I'm assessing.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, what a great presentation by my friend Lubens. I hope you've enjoyed today's broadcast. Join us next time on Phoenix 76 Tech Talk. Until then, have a good one.